This man went blind for 10 years just by looking at the moon, so he was treated like a psychopath because he saw an angel on the moon. 10 years ago, he looked at the moon from the roof of his house. He suddenly saw an angel with 6 wings. It's covered in golden light. His eyes have not been able to open since, and every night since then, he dreamt of an asylum. He felt a voice inside the asylum calling to him. But the knock on the door goes unanswered, but he couldn't tell the psychiatrist about it. Otherwise, the doctor will continue to think he's having a psychotic episode. The man's name is Lin Kai. His parents died when he was a child, but he has a cute little brother. The brothers were raised by their aunt. On this day, the brother asked if his eye was almost healed. Auntie also reassures Kai that if he doesn't get into college, she will support Kai for the rest of his life. All Kai could say was, "I'm almost done." But really, no matter how hard he tries, he still can't open his eyes. But since 5 years ago, Kai can suddenly sense his surroundings. It's only a few centimeters at first, but as time passes, Kai is now able to sense distances of up to 10 meters around him. Whenever he looks up to sense the moon, always listening to that angelic whisper, "Are you still looking at me?" Meanwhile, in an alley, a squad of 4 suddenly appeared. They're chasing a monster. A woman yells "Old Zhao" into the intercom. The man known as Old Zhao immediately replies, "Roger. Bulletin board number 3 is in place." Next, Old Zhao gestures only to see the red electricity flow. His mouth shouted, "Jing Su, open." Old Zhao's words were just finished when a red light rushed up underneath him. The other 2 red lights echoed each other. A red Jing Su forms instantly. The 2 monsters are trapped in it. The woman in the squad takes off her hat and says, "Operation Purge commence." 100 years ago, a mysterious, boundless fog came to life. A highly toxic fog in just 24 hours. The fog covered half the world. There's no way for humans to understand the places that are shrouded in mist. They don't know if there are any survivors. Soon after, a mysterious resurgence, the gods of the outside world resurface in the world. Monsters from various myths and legends have begun to appear in what's left of the city, slaughtering Huaxia humans with impunity. But not only do the gods of the outside world not help the humans, instead they get involved. But it was also during this period it was discovered that children born after the mists had a chance of awakening special powers, and this special power was called Jing Su. Later, humans with special powers formed a special organization, the Huaxia Night Watch. Together, they defend themselves against the invasion of foreign gods and monsters. The next day, Kai arrives at school carrying his crutches. It's his first day at school. He thought he'd be ostracized because of his disability, but his classmates were unexpectedly enthusiastic. They all offered to help. Turns out it's because his aunt came to school a day early, giving lollipops to his classmates. "I hope they can help take care of Kai." Kai exclaims, "I see. Can't say anything about angels this time, or you'll be treated like a psychopath again." Soon Kai begins his day of study. At the same time, asura opening. The Night's Watch is guarding the passageway and slaying monsters. Hong Ying carries a spear, splitting a monster in half. But just as she was getting proud, her companion suddenly froze. Dumbfounded, he points behind her. The ghost-faced king is slowly raising his arm. Hong Ying doesn't have time to react. She's been hit in the chest by the ghost-faced king's claws. She's lying on the ground, gasping for air, but she still calls the intercom. We have a serious miscalculation. On the other side, at dusk, Kai is walking home with 3 of his classmates. As they pass a sewer, Kai suddenly smells the stench of a corpse. A bold student suggests going in to take a look. When he turned on his cell phone's flashlight, in front of him was the body of a woman. The 2 girls are terrified, and he lifted his cell phone upwards, and a few people saw a monster is eating a woman's body. After sensing them, the monster immediately dropped the woman and charged at them. A male student took the lead. A female student looks back as she runs, realizing the monster is right behind her. Frightened, she throws her handbag in a hurry, totally oblivious to the fact that Kai is right behind her. But it's a good thing Kai sensed the bag and he ducked his head in time to avoid being hit. But when the female student rushed to the entrance of the passage, another monster appeared and swallowed the girl. Kai is so scared she stops dead in her tracks. He gets slapped by the monster behind him. It doesn't stop until it hits the wall, and once again, a monster appears above him. Sensing the monster had swooped down, Kai gnashes his teeth in hatred. "Why me again? All these years I've been treated like a psychopath. I'm ready to start a new life." Kai hissed in anger. 2 golden lights suddenly appear in his eyes. Meanwhile, a 6-winged angel on the far side of the moon is gazing at Kai in a vague way. In the next second, Kai is wrapped in an intense golden light. His eyes turn completely golden. A pillar of golden light shoots up into the sky. On the other side, Old Zhao flew to Hong Ying. Hong Yang was found to have been saved, but then he learns that the Ghostface King and 3 Ghostfaces have escaped into Old Town just as Old Zhao was about to move to find. A golden light appeared a short distance away. Old Zhao is dumbfounded and murmurs, "This is a sign that Jing Shu is coming out of the world." The others look on in amazement. The energy is outrageous. It's at least a level 5 or higher, even up to level 6. Old Zhao is horrified, running in the direction of the pillar of light. And now the center of the light, Kai feels empowered. His eyes have finally been restored. Unaware of what's going on, the Ghostfacer rushes forward without fear. But now their attack speed is simply too slow for Kai. Kai dodges the attack with ease, and it's not just reaction time. We've doubled our sensory range, within 20 meters. All of it, Kai knows. Facing the ghost-faced man who lunged head-on, Kai is like an angel. He's got everything under control. He spins the stick in his hand, and then he thrusts it out, straight through Ghostface's head. And yet just then, Kai was suddenly struck by a wave of vertigo. He can't move his body. The 2 remaining Ghostfaces see this, open their fangs and lunged at him. Kai says, "Oh no, I can't avoid it." Just in the nick of time, Old Zhao arrives in time to block the blow. And then Old Zhao swung his sword. Ghostface was split in half in an instant. When he's done, Old Zhao lights a cigarette. Without looking back, he whispers to Kai, "Is it cool?" Kai is a bit confused. "Is my cut cool?" "Cool. Just cool." "Want to join us? Want to be as cool as me?" Kai just skimmed his head and said, "No." Old Zhao wanted to say something else, but Kai just ignores him and walks away. Back at home, Kai lies on his bed, exhausted. He knew there was a huge organization behind Old Zhao, though he'd like to know what's going on. But there are some secrets that once you know, you can't get out of. He doesn't want to be a hero. He just wants to protect the family. After falling asleep in a daze, Kai comes back to the asylum of his dreams. But when he touches the door again, he found that the door could actually be opened. After 5 years, he's finally in. A few moments later, Kai came to a door. He pushes the door open only to find a woman inside. Kai is about to greet her. The next moment, he suddenly saw a panel patient, Nyx's quest. Help Nyx with her mental illness. You can take some of Nyx's abilities with you. Kai is confused. Nyx is one of the 5 gods of creation in Greek mythology. How can such a powerful goddess be mentally ill? Just as Kai wonders what she's got, Nyx suddenly exclaims, "Child, my child." Talad said she, looking at Kai in surprise. Tears fell unconsciously, reaching out her hand. She murmured, "My child, at last I have found you." Kai is completely confused. He was raised by his aunt. It's true that he doesn't know his parents. Could she be her own mother? Just as Kai is staggering, Nyx actually lunges directly at Kai. Kai just tried to reach out in response. Instead, she swept right past Kai. One hugged the vase across the room and said, "My child, you're alive." And then she ran to a cabinet. "Thupnos, my boy." Seeing this, Kai is speechless for a moment, so it's really a mental illness. Early in the morning, Kai woke up with a start. He covers his forehead and remembers, "Is this an attempt to get me to cure her?" Soon, Kai arrived at the hospital. He asked the doctor if there was a cure for Nyx's illness. Of course, Kai just said a friend. This friend can't come to the hospital right now. Although the doctor suggested that he bring his friend to the hospital. But Kai's attitude is strong. The doctor had to give him some tranquilizers. Kai took the medicine and left the hospital. He thought to himself, "I wish I could bring the medicine into my dreams," but on the way back, he meets Old Zhao. Kai didn't hesitate to turn and run, but Old Zhao catches him. Soon after, Kai was taken to a hotel. Old Zhao said with a serious look on his face, "Have you seen Angel Michael?" Kai looks at him suspiciously. "What, Michael?" Old Zhao took off his coat and said lightly that golden light from yesterday was an energy wave that belonged to Micah. At first, he thought Kai was level 6, but he didn't realize that Kai was only at the first level. Kai looks curiously at Old Zhao. "What about you? What realm are you in?" Old Zhao's heart breaks. He hasn't awakened Jing Su. He kills monsters based on combat experience and fighting skills. There are 3 ways to get Jing Su. One is to be born with Jing Su. The second is to use a special Jing Shu item. And the third is bestowed by the gods. Some gods give some of their power to chosen humans to become their agents on Earth. But the corresponding agent will also receive instructions from the gods, acting on behalf of the will of this god and of the divine agents found so far. Most are agents of evil gods who seek to destroy human society and return the world to chaos. They also created an organization called the Church of the Ancient Gods. So, what were your instructions from Michael? Which side do you belong to? Kai is dismissive in the face of Old Zhao's inquiry. What he's trying to do, I don't know. Even if he gave me an order, I wouldn't follow it. The big deal is just to give these eyes back to him. With that, Kai prepares to leave. He doesn't give a damn about guarding humans. He just wants to make money, so that auntie doesn't have to work so hard, getting down to earth as a family back home. Kai is once again in the asylum of his dreams, preparing for Nyx's treatment. Look at Nyx on her knees, calling out for her child. Kai has a flash of insight. She's just a mother who misses her child. With that in mind, Kai hugged Nyx. Whispering in her ear, he said, "Mom, I'm home." Nyx instantly burst into hot tears. A hug for Kai. It's like a mother and son reunion. At the same time, a beep sounds. 3% reach reward acquisition conditions have been met. Kai breathes a sigh of relief. Finally, some progress. With that, Kai clicks on the panel to collect the reward. Next, send a roulette wheel appears out of nowhere in front of Kai. Nyx then hands Kai a bowl. The words "Starry Night Dancer" float on the bowl. Kai reaches out in confusion and grabs it. The very moment he touched the fonts, Kai felt a force transforming his body. It washed over him from soul to body. The next day, Kai woke up so refreshed for the first time. He just walked out of his room and found his aunt getting ready to go out. Looking at his aunt's kind face, Kai is suddenly struck by a sudden shock. This was the first time he saw his aunt's face. Kai shuddered and said, "Auntie, I can see." Auntie turns around a bit puzzled after seeing that Kai can open his eyes. Auntie bursts into tears, holding Kai tightly. Little brother is also jumping up and down with excitement. When we got back to school, the class was also very happy. "I can't believe Lin's eyes are so beautiful." Kai can't help but blush. "I can finally live a normal life." Yet just as he returns home at night, he realizes that old Zhao is actually in his house. Old Zhao raises his hand to greet him. Immediately after, he takes out a pile of money and puts it on the table. Without waiting for Kai to say anything, old Zhao picks up a cigarette. Slowly talking about his past. At the age of 6, his father died. His mother worked 2 jobs to raise him. When he grew up, he could have been a village official, but he defied his mother and joined the army. And then he joined the Night's Watch for various reasons. He never returned to his mother's side, but he never regretted it, because he was charged with the task of guarding mankind. Old Zhao remembers what he used to be, so he wanted to give the money to Kai, so that he can honor his aunt. As for guarding the world, just leave it to the likes of himself. With that, old Zhao got up and left. Kai looks thoughtful but doesn't say much. Had to drop old Zhao off downstairs. And that's when it happened. A message suddenly came over the intercom. "We got a hit on King Ghostface. Destination is most likely Old Town." Hear that? Old Zhao wouldn't dare to take it easy, because that's where he is, in the Old Town. At the same time, while the other Night's Watch are already evacuating the residents, but just as old Zhao returns to the neighborhood where Kai lives with his signboard, but he suddenly smelled the stench of a corpse. The manhole cover is bubbling black. Old Zhao knows very well that he has hit the jackpot. He slowly pulls out a notice board and reported to his superiors that the Ghostface King had been found in the old city center. After saying that, he violently thrust the notice board into the manhole cover, and the next second, the Ghostface King ate the pain and directly broke through the ground. But then a voice came over the intercom. "Old Zhao, you haven't awakened Jing Su. Don't fight the king of Ghostface. Hong Ying and the others are already on their way to you." But old Zhao wasn't even listening, because behind him, it's the house where Kai lives. If you don't stop King Ghostface, the consequences will be disastrous. They're still telling him to calm down on the intercom, but old Zhao has already drawn his knife. Though this time he doesn't have a million people behind him, but there is the boy's world at this point. The Ghostface King was pouncing on old Zhao like a madman. He fends off the Ghostface King's attack. With that, he let out a loud roar and said, "Unrestricted airspace, open up." An invisible force enveloped the place. At the same time, Kai is having dinner at home. He finds Blackie lying on the balcony barking. Kai comes to the balcony to calm Blackie down. He spots old Zhao in the middle of the fight. Immediately, he turns around and rushes out of the room. "You guys eat first, I'm going to go outside." And old Zhao was determined at the moment, looking at King Ghostface, even though he's seriously injured. But he doesn't even know how many more moves he can make. Old Zhao then blocked King Ghostface's giant claws. Taking the opportunity to leap behind it, he stabbed it with a vicious slash. But the difference in realms is too great for it to penetrate. King Ghostface turns around and smacks him directly in the face. In the next second, a hiss resounded through the sky. The Ghostface King has actually performed Jing Su's Ghostface Ground. He can turn space upside down within his range. Deceive the senses of all living things for just a moment, old Zhao feels the sky spinning. Unable to perceive Ghostface King's attack at all, after taking a few claws in succession, old Zhao dives into the ground. Steady your mind and body and force yourself to calm down, trying to sense where the attack will fall from. Just as the Ghostface King prepares for the fatal blow, old Zhao suddenly turns around, a slash to the claws of the Ghostface King. Old Zhao taunts triumphantly. How's it going? Surprised,